afternoon for me, morning for some of you, maybe middle of the night for some of you, and some of you afternoon and some of you evening. So hi, Ferris. I know Ferris. I know Eric. So we've got Switzerland, we've got Ireland, we've got Brisbane, we've got Laurence from France. Let's just very quickly just let us know who you are, where you're from. We have more people joining us. Boom, boom, boom. They're all coming in right now, so all on time. Nice to see everybody getting here on time. Really appreciate you joining me live for this webinar. And I'm going to give you as much as I can in the hour and a quarter that we have. So we've got Slovenia, Romana, Thomas from Germany, Femke, London, hi Femke, Miriam from Sydney, hi. All right, Mark from Wangaratta. How Australian is Wangaratta? Victor from Spain, Ruth, hi Ruth, nice to see you here. This is old homework. Wouldn't it be great if we could just kind of step through a portal and all get together and you know, do this in the same room together. Man, looking forward to coming back over to the UK next year. That's the plan, as well as Italy already so far. Teresa, Rosemarie, excellent, Cairns and Victoria. So pretty much Australia and Europe. The other group is pretty much Australia and the US, although we had people from South Africa and so on there. Mostly here we've got UK, Europe and Australia from what I can see so far. Anyone who's from somewhere else, let us know as we go. Let's get started. Let's get through this as quickly as possible so we can get to the good stuff. I want to give you as much as I know and as much as I learn about overcoming fear of rejection in this webinar as I can, and the tools and techniques to help you to move forward and bring your gifts to the world, whether those gifts be just expressing your beautiful self through your art, through your work, through your products, through your writings, through your songs, through your poetry, whatever it is, the expression of yourself into the world, and bringing the essence of you that we all really need right now. Okay, let's go very quickly through the housekeeping, the disclaimer, of course. Always we have to put this up to make sure that you know, as you've already been told, this is general information for educational purposes. It's not medical advice. The techniques that I'll be referring to will also be used in coaching on here. I'd love to coach a couple of people, have at least one volunteer, Teresa, and she's online, so let's hope the technology works for us. Be using primarily two techniques, SET, simple energy techniques, which is our simple version of tapping on acupressure points, and my intention-based energy process, what the Europeans call YEP. Yeah, I like that because I've got 100% yes, my new book, as you all know, and so the YEP process actually really resonates for me. And while those techniques have caused a lot of good results for a lot of people, there's no guarantee they're going to help you achieve your goals or work exactly the same as they do for you as they have for other people, or be as painless as they are for others. Therefore, you have to agree to take full responsibility for your own physical and mental health and consult your physician or therapist about your use of the techniques, especially if you're dealing with mental health issues. And I do not recommend at all that you stop doing anything that your doctor or therapist has recommended, more that you integrate things together and use them, you know, upfront and with permission, basically. Housekeeping ground rules. The call, as you know, is being recorded. You've already given permission for that. I am going to take live questions and also do some live coaching with people who volunteer as much as I can in the time that we have. If you do speak with me when I open up the question and answer, you must use a headset or headphones to avoid an echo. And if you already know tapping, then you should start tapping immediately. If you don't know tapping, you're completely new to this, I'm going to quickly review the basics as we go. But for those of you who already know it, you have a chance now to get an hour and 10 minutes, 15 minutes of tapping, and that will be really good for you. So start doing it now. Right, here's our aims from the webinar. Of course, you know, freeing yourself from fear of rejection, because it's such a universal, pervasive, ancient, and ongoing thing for human beings, it's not all going to be fixed up in every respect in one webinar, but I want to show you some ways that you can free yourself from the fear of rejection so that you can share more of yourself and the gifts that you have to bring into the world. And we've had some great results already. Even this morning, although we had problems with the internet connection and you know, a bit of dropping in and out along the way, we still had some great results for the couple of people that I did coaching with, and one of them has already written to me, Megan, about the great results she's been having. And of course, Megan's already been doing coaching in one of the programs that I have, but she jumped online and did a bit of extra work with SET, Simple Energy Techniques, and my intention-based energy process. And that's, for those of you who are new to both of those, I think you're going to be fascinated what you can do from those, with those. Welcome, Claire. Nice to see you joining us. Yeah, just everybody come on in. Here's the thing. I believe that all of us have something to offer to the world. And whether it's singing our particular song, or really whether the concept of singing your song is a metaphor for what you came here to do, I believe that we really need you to bring that out more so now than ever before. And so what I want to do is, to the extent that I can, facilitate that and help you with that. And as I've said, I'm in 3rd grade when it comes to overcoming rejection. I graduated from 2nd grade just recently, and those who are in 3rd grade can help those in 2nd grade, and those who are in 2nd grade can help those in 1st grade, as my great mentor, Frank Farrelly, taught me. And those who are in 1st grade can help those in kindergarten. So if you're only in 1st grade, you can still help the people who are behind you. The challenge is, as we move towards higher levels of success and putting ourselves out into the world more and expressing more of ourselves, we open ourselves up to opposition, criticism, and rejection. And Tom Peters, I love this quote from him. He says, they're not really requirements for success or prerequisites. However, I've never studied a great success who didn't have to overcome great amounts of opposition, criticism, and rejection. It kind of goes with the territory. And I've certainly experienced that recently with putting my book out into the world. Not because I certainly have had some really fantastic feedback and people making incredible shifts with the book, but everything you do, it opens you up to some people saying, well, hey, you could have done it like this. Even when people write to you about little typos that they find on page 37 or 75 or whatever it is. And it's interesting how upset some people can be about things like this. So when you encounter that, you have to deal with it. And I think that that's one of the things that you set the goal for, so that you can grow into and become that kind of person who is able to handle that. And the more that you're able to handle that, the more that you're able to go through that. Yeah, so Ruth says, I'm breaking up a little. Can everyone else just let me know if that's happening for you as well? If that's the case, then what I'll do is I will, okay, so Teresa says I'm fine. Okay, in Sydney, sound is good for first, right. Just let me know if you wouldn't mind, just watch it along the way. Usually it's just your local internet connection. If it becomes across the board, then what I'll do is I'll switch off the video. In fact, what I'm going to do, because I'm getting a couple saying it's breaking, I'm going to switch off the video. And what that should mean is that hopefully we won't use as much bandwidth in getting this through. And, we'll, yeah, so Claire says volume a bit low. I'm not sure how much more I can increase the volume, but let's see. That's about as high as I can get it to go. All right, so as always, you have to move forward and soldier on. It's kind of lawful when you run something on fear of rejection that you will also open yourself up to challenges like this. And the great thing for me is that this problem is with the internet, it's not with me. I do everything I can to make this work, and so I don't really need to be any more concerned than doing what I can with what I've got to get this message across to you, and that's what I'm going to focus on doing. All right, so let's get into this issue of rejection and fear of rejection. It stems from a basic fundamental need that we have to belong. And it's not a want, it's a need. We have needs for positive and lasting relationships. And there's so much proof for that. I'm not going to really go into it. It's really self-evident. And the challenge is that leads to the possibility of rejection and concerns with self-acceptance being major big. And it gets into everything, and probably one of the biggest areas that social acceptance and rejection is heightened these days is in social media. Oh my goodness. It's like there's a whole lot of people out there just waiting to be offended or upset or react to something or to take something the wrong way. It's really quite something and quite striking. And the creators of Facebook have done some, I personally think, unethical research into social contagion and shown that by changing people's news feeds and giving, letting through more content with negative messages, they can create a negative social contagion where they affect people with that stuff. Really very concerning issue. Okay, when we get rejected, it hurts. And it hurts really, really bad. And one of the reasons why it hurts really bad is because as neuroscience has discovered, the same areas of the brain become activated when you experience rejection as when you experience physical pain. The neural pathways are basically piggybacking on the same area. And one of the areas that rejection hurts the most is in our love relationships. And the severe level of this is contributing to a massive high suicide rate at the extreme end, particularly among men and young men in particular who do not handle relationship rejection at all well. And so there's a real issue in the world in regard to handling rejection and in regard to social acceptance. And it's the term they use in the science is social pain. So rejection isn't just rejection, it's actual pain. And in terms of relationships, when they conduct brain scans on people who have broken up with their romantic partners, they found the same areas lit up in the brain as the areas of physical pain, just when they were viewing photographs of their ex. So this actually translates so much to physical pain, and it's experienced as a very deep pain. And that's why a few rounds of tapping isn't always going to be enough to deal with the depth of the hurt, particularly in your very, very close relationships. This process, they believe, has come about for an evolutionary positive purpose, such that we had to stay together in order to survive. And if social exclusion is a threat to our survival, then feeling hurt presumably is a way to prevent this. And so that's why they believe that the social attachment system piggybacked on the physical pain system, and pain signals are used to indicate when our social relationships are threatened. The challenge with that is that we can, because of the way our mind works and because of the way our mind has worked to also focus on negative things that may happen and to try and stop us from having negative experiences again. If we have experienced rejection, then we will give us a shot of pain at the prospect of going into a situation where we might experience rejection in the future. And we can immobilize ourselves in that regard. So Nathan DeWaal says, instead of creating an entirely new system to respond to socially painful events, evolution just co-opted the system for physical pain that was already in existence. Here's really some really interesting things. I don't recommend that you take Tylenol to deal with rejection, but in research, they've done a bunch of research showing that when people experience rejection and they take Tylenol, they recount less hurt feelings than people who take sugar pills. And fMRI studies have found the same thing, that there's less activity in the pain-related brain regions when people are rejected after they've taken pain relief versus when they've taken placebo sugar pills. And this thing is so strong that money won't fix it. So when they've done research studies where they've set up rejection situations where people end up getting rejected, and instead of giving them a negative, they actually gave them a positive where they earned money when they got rejected. Those payments did nothing to stop them from feeling the hurt and pain of being excluded. It doesn't matter how hard you try, people get hurt by ostracism and rejection. Okay, so if you are fearing rejection, you are not alone. And if you have trouble dealing with rejection, you are in the majority. In fact, it's an overwhelming majority. And I mentioned in the, in writing material for this webinar, I have not met anyone who handles rejection perfectly. I don't think that that kind of person exists. Now, there are certainly people who don't experience feelings like other people. They're called psychopaths. They don't have empathy like other people. They don't feel those kinds of feelings. But everybody else who has the capacity for empathy and who feels feelings is going to have challenges in dealing with social rejection and social acceptance. Now, I wrote this title. I thought, I'm going to have to redirect you to read the title again, because it doesn't say rejection pain is easier to relieve. It says rejection pain easier to relive. We relive and re-experience social pain much more vividly and much more intensely than experiences of actual physical pain. So if we've had the pain of physical injury, most people can more easily relive and re-experience relationship breakups and socially painful events, as opposed to ones which have caused them actual physical pain. So it's even worse than just the fact that the rejection pathways are the same as the pain pathways. They're actually more intense in terms of our capacity to hold on to them and to continue to suffer them. So it's kind of like relationship trauma in many cases is bigger for people in terms of the effects that it can have on them as actual physical trauma. And I'm not saying that's always the case. If you've been in a life-threatening situation, or you've had a real severe physical trauma like a car accident or a near-death situation where you've had a major physical trauma, you can certainly have post-traumatic stress associated with that experience. But in general, people tend to suffer the relationship trauma and hold on to the relationship trauma for longer, and it hurts them more and more, more intensely. Okay, so how do we treat that? How do we fix that? What do we do with that? Here's what the researchers say. They say that if you're rejected, you should seek out healthy, positive connections with friends and family. And this is from an article by a lady writing the APA, American Psychological Association Monitor. The challenge, of course, if you're socially rejected, you might have problems with seeking out healthy, positive connections. But if if you do have friends and you do have family, of course, if you've been rejected, one of the best things is to find a friend, phone a friend, contact a friend, find someone who you can get together with, and that experience will give you a natural mood boost to help you to handle the rejection. Other things that are rejected are things like exercise, and I believe, as a non-drug treatment for down feelings, exercise is a fantastic thing. The challenge is getting yourself to do it some of the time. And how do we treat this? How do we treat rejection, and how are we going to treat the fear of rejection? And we're going to use tapping, and we're going to use our new YEP process, intention-based energy process, to release the emotional attachments and restore the energy to flow, and restore those disturbances in energy flow, which are caused by three main categories of things. And it's worth really taking note of these three things, because they are entire categories. So first of all, there's the past rejections and humiliations and hurts that we've had in our life. And if you are an adult, you have had hundreds, if not thousands of these, and you will certainly have dozens of them which register on a scale from 0 to 10 as a 10. It's really helpful to go back and identify these and release them. Gary Craig used to talk about the personal peace procedure of identifying events and experiences that you in your life that you'd rather did not happen. In this case, we're specifically focusing on humiliations and hurts, social pain. This is going to be really helpful for treating your fear of rejection, because that fear of rejection is actually based on the rejected messages and the BS, as in the belief systems that you developed out of those experiences. And therefore, it becomes part of the future fantasies and projections where you project yourself. If I make this call, they're going to reject me, or if I get up in front of this group, they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to or I'm going to be humiliated, or whatever. That can only get energy from those past experiences where your primitive alarm system has learned to link pain to going into this situation, and anything that looks like you might be heading into the same kind of situation, the primitive alarm system goes off, and you start getting all those. It gives you a little dose of pain to stop you from moving forward, and that's what we want to release, so that we can free you to be able to put more of your stuff out there and show more of your real self. Okay, so I'm mentioning past rejections, humiliations, and hurts, the rejection messages and the belief systems that you formed out of those, and future fantasies and projections about what might happen or what will probably happen if you do this. This is homework. This is something that I suggest that you take away and do from this program. And my aim is going to be to give you the basic techniques of using tapping, using simple energy techniques that Dr. David Lake and I developed, and the YEP process, intention-based energy process that I've developed, to help release the emotional attachments that are holding those there, and the energy disturbances which are stopping you from being able to go forward and flow with the good energy and take action to your goals. All right, let me just make a couple more points, and then we'll start to get into the how-tos and the coaching. I mentioned the fantasies and projections, and sometimes this is the place to start, even though you might ultimately want to go back and treat some of those experiences in the past where you learned this. Where it starts is you think about putting something out into the world, or you think about promoting yourself, or you think about becoming visible, and then you might create. Eve is saying maybe you could put the video back on. Would you rather see me, Eve? Is that what you're telling me? My wife was watching this morning, and she said it goes all over the place. I didn't really gain anything from watching you. You could have just left the presentation up. So I'll put it back on. But if anybody starts to find that that it slows down the transmission, just let me know instantly, please, and I'll change it. Make sure, by the way, that you're drinking plenty of liquids through this whole process. You probably do lip reading. That would be great if it weren't for the fact that there's kind of a little bit of a delay here. So Eric is saying that the video hasn't made any difference. It may not be making it right now, but let's see what happens. Janet Mattingly says wine. Actually, no, Janet. Does this look like wine to you? Hang on. It's actually honey and lemon. All right. Okay, so prefer to see me. Yeah, I prefer to kind of a feeling that I'm presenting, the real self, rather than just a lot of these webinars. You think it was just a recording that they did, 3 months ago, rather than live. So I certainly like to have the live feeling. So fine, nice. Couple more pieces of this. Carol Dweck has written a book called Mindset, and she has a TED Talk. It's excellent. And hello, Sue, nice to see you. I'm going to read out Sue's poem a little bit later on. Hopefully, I read it out this morning as well, Sue, so I'm going to read it out this afternoon too. So stay tuned, everybody. Carol Dweck talks about mindset, and she says that you can learn to have, people can have what's called a fixed mindset, where they believe that their attributes are fixed, and therefore their performance is them. And we learn this through our performances when we're young, when we do something bad, and the parents say, "Good boy," "Bad boy, bad girl." But we also can learn to have a fixed mindset, and that our performance and our attributes are fixed. If we perform and our parents or our teachers say to us, "Clever boy, clever girl," then what actually happens is we hold back from taking risks, because we need to show that we're clever, and if we don't know how to do it, we're not going to do it, because maybe if we don't do it, therefore it means that we're not clever. As opposed to people who develop what she calls a growth mindset, which is where we believe that we can develop the skills. Our results are dependent on the effort that we put in, and we can learn how to do it. So if when we go to put ourselves out in public and do a performance, we believe that that performance is us, rather than being how much effort we've made, or how much we've learned, or how much we've practiced, or how much skills we've developed, then we are not going to do that, because a failure means we are a failure, as opposed to the failure meaning that, giving us ideas about what we need to learn and what we need to develop. So this is some of the BS that we need to release using these techniques. In particular, I've mentioned this one before in my Overcome Perfectionism or Self-Esteem webinar. We've learned to measure our self-worth based on our achievement and the belief that we are our achievements. That's basically what Carol Dweck would call a fixed mindset. And we've also we've developed critical self-evaluations. We've internalized the criticisms of our early teachers, our siblings, our parents, and in essence, we measure ourselves against a perfectionistic ideal and end up believing that we're not good enough. And that means that we hold ourselves back. Now we're going to use tapping, and we're going to use the YEP process, or YEP, intention-based energy process, to treat this. So for anyone who's new to tapping, these are the points, and you're just tapping on them with 2 fingers in most cases, and you can tap 5 times, 10 times, 15 times on either side of the body, hard enough to feel it but not hard enough to hurt. And essentially in our process, you just keep on tapping, and you can tap mindfully and in a focused way where you focus on problems while you're tapping and just notice what happens. Or you can tap mindlessly, where you just tap on the points, where that continually tunes and tones your energy system and brings down your stress and brings up your positive life energy. Apart from the face points and head points and body points, starting at the top of the head and going to the side of the eye, and the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the lip, under the collarbone, and under the arm. You can also tap on the finger points on the side of the thumb, side of the index finger, little finger, ring finger, little finger, bottom of the hand, and on the wrist points like this. So most of you, I assume, already know tapping, because most of the people have come from the various Facebook groups that I'm part of and my list, so you know about tapping. So Jody was saying it's possible to have a copy, was taking screenshots by way of taking notes. Yes, yes, I will send out a copy of the slides, no problem. I'll send that out and put that for you to download with the recording, technology willing. Okay, so apart from SET, we're also going to use my YEP process, intention-based energy process. And this basically is a process of addressing problems using specific, definite, and deliberate intentions or commands directed to your subconscious mind to release emotional attachments to negative beliefs, past hurts, unhealthy, destructive behaviors, people, things, events, memories, situations, etc. Whatever it is that's the problem, you can release your emotional attachments to it using this process, and to restore your energy to flow and bring you back to a place of emotional balance and clarity. And at that time, it also reconnects you with your positive inner resources. This essentially came from some work I was doing on myself, and also using some processes, including Byron Katie's the work. And this particular statement in her book jumped out at me. A thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but the attachment to our thoughts that causes our suffering. And it occurred to me that it's the emotional attachments that cause the suffering. And that suffering also creates a disruption in energy flow and a disturbance in energy in the body. And the thought that came next was, what if we could use intention to release those emotional attachments and restore the energy to flow. I applied it instantly to a problem that I was focusing on, as in I formed the intention, I release all my emotional attachments to this problem, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked. And then I started sharing it with other people, starting with my wife and my friends, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked. And now I'm continually astounded by the power of this very, very simple process, which really, the core of which revolves around two primary intention statements. The first one is about releasing emotional attachments, and the second one is about restoring energy flow. And I use this process with tapping. I have used it with people and also with myself. I personally find that using it combined with tapping, you get the power of two techniques, and the tapping helps the feelings to harmonize in the body. So the first part is about releasing emotional attachments to a particular problem, an event, an image, a belief, a thought, a situation, a person, whatever it is that's the problem that you are emotionally reacting to, being triggered by, or have an attachment to. And the second one is about restoring the energy flow to whatever area of the body you identify that you have the bad feeling in. And this can be an astounding and very positive process for freeing you up from blocks and barriers and fears and challenges. And today we're going to use that in regard to rejection fears. So what I want to do now is let's move to the bit where we start to do this, and hopefully I get to show you enough of this for you to be able to take it away and to use it combined with tapping. When I sent out the material for this, you should have got something where I asked you this question: what's the biggest problem that fear of rejection causes you? And I had some people write to me, so let me just give you a few of these, and then now I'm going to open up to you and get you to write some stuff into the chat. And I'll also change to I'm going to change right now to Q&A mode, question and answer mode. What this means is that you can ask me a question and you can come on live and speak with me. Now remember, if you're going to do that, you need to be able to use a headset so that we don't have an echo. And let me just go from that question, which I assume you can all see what's the biggest problem that fear of rejection causes you, and go to this bit here, this screen here, which tells you how to ask a question. So if you can identify the where the attendees list is, I've actually neutralized that so you can't see everybody's names, because I know some people like to stay a little bit, what's the word, a little bit confidential. Fear of rejection, why not? Let's stay confidential. There is, on the bottom corner of that, there's a little happy face. And if you click on that, then you'll get a bunch of options that will come up. One of those options is to raise your hand. And if you raise your hand, I can invite you to, I can click on your raised hand and invite you to speak with me. What will happen next on your computer or on your device, hopefully this is different for different devices, so I'm just going to give you the main way this comes across, is that there will be this thing, ask a question. This dialog box will come up. Sometimes it can take a while for this to come up. If I click to give voice to you, it will say you've been chosen to ask a question. Do you want to ask a question now? You say yes, and then you'll have to click on this one here to allow your camera and or microphone to have access. Of course, in most cases, it'll just be microphone, but some people like to speak on video as well. So if that's you, then feel free. Okay, so we'll just go back here just to the starting point for asking a question if you want to do that. And now JD's saying the sound is gone. Every time we have this, if everyone else can just let me know if that's okay for you, that would be really good. Okay, here, fine, here, fine, here. Good, all right. So, sorry, it looks like it's a local problem for now. So that means if it drops out, come back and get the recording. No, there is no attendee list, but you will have a box which says the words attendee list on it, or there's a box there with a little smiley face down in the corner. Some of you have iPods and you have to scroll through different options on your screen from one to the other, but there should be a way to find that. Okay, so let me just give you some of the things that people have written in to say about how, you know, the problems that rejection causes them. So Eve says, I think what affects me most is the fact that whereas I know myself intimately and truly like myself, I find it difficult to accept the fact that I may not appeal to everybody. So Eve has an issue with other people not accepting her and the fact that she can't be liked by everybody. And this is a challenge if you want to be liked by everybody. Victor's saying, will we have the recording? Yes, there will be a recording. Technology willing, there will be a recording. Who is this one? This person's name, I think it's Doreen, because I didn't go over to the right page here. Fear of being criticised, so wanting perfection, lead me to believe I'll never know enough, never be enough until I've listened to every podcast, read every book, etc. Man, I'm familiar with this, where I had to go and train and learn more and learn more and learn more and learn more. I'm never going to be good enough to actually put stuff out there myself. And some of you on this webinar would be doing this as another thing, you know, just before you can go out and do your stuff. Cindy says, probably the biggest fear for me is changing myself to be what everyone else wanted for acceptance. I'm working at being my authentic self. I believe it's the root of my weight gain, a hiding place. I also go silent in myself as well. Okay, and oh my gosh, I haven't got the name of the person here, but this person says, when mum had a minor stroke, the family rejected not only my medical knowledge, but also naturopathic, homeopathic, and energetic first aid. So as not to risk feeling any further rejection, I don't say too much. So she's really pulled back in regard to the family who won't listen to her, and also started to create a belief, if my family won't listen to me, who would? So this is in the category of the second category of first of all, there's the hurtful experiences, and then there's the BS, or the beliefs that we take from that start to that can potentially hold us back from taking steps forward. And that's why you want to treat not just the past events, you also want to treat the beliefs that you've started to form from that, or that you did form from that. Carol says, living in a foreign country makes it worse, and as an artist, perhaps fear of rejection is the root of why I haven't done anything in the past 7 years. I haven't had any rejections or bad reviews or anything. In fact, just good feedback for what little I've put myself out there. But I've hit a bump in life and haven't been able to get back to painting. So, wow, okay. So, number one, the bump in life is the trauma that you want to treat. And of course, those things can stop your momentum. And then it seems so much harder to bridge that gap. And of course, you know, you create projections based on that as well. So yeah, a lot of tapping on that bump in life. Okay, let's get you now, Teresa. You're actually my volunteer, so if you want to actually put your hand up and come in. I also have Dave who has done that. So all right. Now I'm clicking on you. You're going to have to, on your computer, find the thing that says that because I've clicked on you now, so hopefully it will come through and do that. Meantime, while we're waiting for hopefully Teresa to come through and or Dave, let's just make sure, yeah, it says there's a good connection. And I cannot turn your voice on or your for you, so you're going to have to find that button on your computer when it comes through. It can take a few seconds to do this, depending on the connection that you have. Ruth says, "Drat, being perfect can't protect us from rejection." No, I think I wrote and said there is no. I'm not going to show you how to not get rejected. It's actually being willing to get rejected by the people who are going to reject you, and be able to deal with that so that you can focus on being there and providing your stuff for the people that you are here to provide and give stuff to. Now I have Ferris who's actually come through, and I'm gonna hopefully you're going to keep trying, Teresa, because that hasn't actually I don't know why, but it hasn't been able to get you through first. So I'm going to say hello to Ferris, and then hopefully you're going to appear. Have I hit the right button? Yeah, I can see you as in having your hand up, but when I click on that, you should have something come through on your end that you need to find to be able to say yes to join my list of attendees waiting to ask a question. So anyway, keep looking for that, and I'm just going to bring Ferris on the line. And if you can't work that out on in terms of you speaking on microphone, Teresa, then we'll get you to put something in the chat and see if we can have a discussion that way. Okay, so I've just clicked to give voice to you, Ferris. Now you'll get one of those little things that you'll have to approve using your microphone, and then you can start talking. Meantime, David is saying the same thing, can't find it, Steve. Yeah, I don't know why, Dave, but I have you there as well. And we've got Femke through as well. And by the way, you're here now, aren't you, Ferris?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh God, yes.
You're loud.
Ah! I need to do tapping on my ears.
I've turned down my volume. Is that better?
Quite. Maybe you can, just for me, go a little bit back. Okay.
How's that? That's not too loud or too quiet?
I think we'll survive. Like everything, we work with what we've got. Okay, so.
Okay, was it too loud or too quiet? I can put it back up or back down.
Don't worry about
loud.
it. Just tell me.
Okay.
Oh, it's still quite loud. Yes, it is definitely quite loud, but it feels a little bit better than it was a minute ago.
Okay. So what came up for me was the fear of being rejected.
How about this, Ferris? How about fear of speaking up as an issue? And then when you speak up, it breaks our ears.
That could be. That could be. I'm turning my volume down. Yeah, I'm moving my mic away.
Yeah, I think we'll just try both. And
yeah, so that's further away.
Okay, that's better. Just be very mindful of it because it's really loud. Okay, you're tapping, right?
Yeah, I am tapping and speaking quietly. And what was up for me was fear of rejection from local community when I put myself out there. And I noticed that I'm quite a people pleaser and I don't like to rock the boat. And yet I don't agree with a lot of people locally that charge very low prices for their therapies. And that's something I'm not willing to do. And I've come up to situations like looking for a room and somebody was saying, what do you charge? And they kind of went, oh, we don't charge that around here. You know what I mean? That's too much and we're charging less because people don't have money.
All right, so I'm going to ask you if you can go even a little bit further back. And just say, I release all my emotions. This is just for fun to see where this goes. Just say I release all my emotional attachments to speaking up.
I release all my emotional attachments to speaking up.
And that may or may not have been attachments for you. It just occurred to me because that was kind of like, man, coming through loud and clear. Okay, so this is kind of a local community, and one of the challenges in a local community is that they kind of you can end up pigeonholed or whatever based on that. Is that
Yeah.
true? Not true? Yeah. Okay. So when you think about putting yourself out there, and you brought up a couple of issues. One was about fees and about how much you put yourself out there for. But what's the concern about putting yourself out there?
Is that local people will be angry with me, and even other local therapists, like, oh, why is
Okay.
she charging more than us? You know, who is
Okay.
she to charge more than us? So fear of being rejected by, I suppose it's local peers.
Okay. So this is actually a projection. I'm not saying it's not true because your mind is
Yeah.
capable of thinking
Yeah.
about what might happen. And the reason why it creates those scenarios, and people, get concerned, oh, people tend to think negatively. It's universal that your brain is trained to think negatively so that you can work out the way around it. The challenge is when you go into that memory, or excuse me, that projection, uh, as if it's happening, as if it's real, when it may or may not be. So just say this, just say I release all my emotional attachments to the fantasy of them being angry with me.
I release all my emotional attachments to the fantasy of them being angry with me.
And just keep tapping and see what that does.
Yeah.
By the way, your voice softened. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
At least it's easier for everybody to hear without
Yes.
getting earache.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's happening for you?
I can still feel some tension in my solar plexus.
Okay. So now say I restore the right energy flow to my solar plexus.
I restore the right energy flow to my solar plexus.
And don't make it do anything. Just keep tapping and just notice what it does. And just let us know what you notice.
I'm noticing it's more in my mind. I'm noticing a change that I'm ready to go out and test those waters. You know, that I'm ready to go out and challenge that belief. And I had been just working online, and now I am stepping out locally again. So I'm wondering if part of that feeling in my solar plexus could actually be excitement to see, well, maybe it could be different this time. So that is shifting. I think there's less fear.
Okay. Well, actually, you probably had both. And
Yeah.
when the anxiety comes out of the way, then the excitement can flow. Back in the old days, people used to say, oh, just reframe your anxiety as excitement. It's not excitement. Anxiety is not, and fear is not excitement. You can have anxiety and excitement at the same time, which is what a lot of people do. People who want to perform and who are driven to perform, and people who love to be the center of attention, like you and I, you know, we we kind of have that, right? There's the anxiety
Yeah.
as well, because the drive or the positive side of wanting to put things out there and connect and so on has also got the negative. Well, then I might be rejected, and that might be rejected
Yeah.
is gaining its energy from the past rejections that you've had. So ultimately, you may need to go and treat those, but you don't always have to. You start with whatever you're aware
Uh-huh.
of, and then just notice what comes next. So, okay, so now even just freeing up a little bit of that energy, you're thinking about going and doing it. Before you do that, think about anything like think about how you might go about that, or put yourself into the situation of doing that, and then just notice what happens. See if you can find a scenario which is still triggering you, or see if it all feels okay.
Some of it feels okay, like I have leaflets and I have a meetup group that I'm going to organize. And the scenario that would still trigger me is actually talking face to face with somebody who's critical. you know, who's saying, "Oh, that's very expensive," or
All
some form of criticism, that's still a bit wobbly.
right. Okay. So
I can
again,
feel that in my throat.
yeah. So this is a projection of what might happen.
Yeah.
But it's not just coming out of nowhere. It's coming from your bad experiences of being criticised in the past, whether that was at school or by parents or whatever. Your early learnings. By the way, Dave, I am seeing that you're in the line, so we'll move on to you soon. But let's do a little bit more on this if we can first to help you to get a few more aspects free, so that you don't just start to make the step and then go 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. So just say I release all my emotional attachments to the projection of being criticised.
I release all emotional attachments to the projection of being criticized.
And again, just tap and notice where that goes. It might go to another aspect which is bigger or different or more ancient or whatever.
I can feel it again. It came up again in my throat, and it's more defined. It's actually from people I know. It's fear of being criticized by people I know. And that fits in. I'm actually a musician as well. And I've always found it much harder to perform in front of people that I know. Give me 100 people I don't know, I'm fine. Give me a room with 20 that I do know, and it's much harder. So it's that same thing. It's people I know. That's what it is.
Okay.
That's what really is the trigger, I think.
Okay, so just say I release all my emotional attachments to rejection by people I know.
I release all my emotional attachments to rejection from people I know.
And I know that's general. People in EFT land are very concerned about general things. Well, I found using the intention energy process, you can start general and then it will go to specifics and the different aspects from there. So it's quite fine to go to that more general level and see what comes up next.
Yeah.
And what are you noticing in your body or mind, if any?
It's actually softening a little in my body, and it's like I'm kind of able to remember that what they think is up to them, and it's not my business. I don't have to make everybody happy.
That's what I love about tapping and also now this YEP process is that when you release the stuff which is in the way, the positive stuff flows naturally. So the stuff which, back when I started in cognitive therapy, I would try to get people to start thinking and feeling by, kind of debating against the negatives and all this kind of stuff. It just comes out naturally when you release the stuff which is stopping it from being able to flow.
Yeah, and I'm feeling more relaxed. I'm kind of like, well, yeah, it's okay. If they don't like it, they don't like it. I mean, that's okay. It's to do with them, not me. I'll find somebody else who does like it.
Okay, so guess what your homework is, Ferris?
What? Go out and talk to people
It's doing a
locally.
performance. No, it's doing a performance for some friends.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll take up that challenge. Yeah, I
Okay, so
will. I
that's
will.
nice that that's a
I'll
yes.
get a few. Yeah, yeah. It is a yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm up for that challenge.
Ah, beautiful. All right, and when you think about it, do you still have any part of you saying no?
There's no part of me saying no. There's a little part that kind of said, "Oh, what if nobody comes?" Which is another thing I get sometimes, and I'm like, "Oh well, that's their loss. I'll have fun. I'll do a tapping. I'll do a tapping meetup for myself, and I'll have fun anyway."
Beautiful. All right. Oh, so far so good.
Yeah,
Now
thank you.
again,
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't ever assume that it's completely true. Try and find any way that you can access that and apply the process to it and see what happens.
Yeah, well, and I have a memory that came up, so I will go. Oops. I'll go and work on that as well. So I think that will help too. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, excellent. All right, so far so
Okay,
good. Thank
thanks
you.
a million.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now looks like Dave is ready to come forward. So I've just given voice to you, Dave. So if you're, which I presume you are, because your computer says that you are, then in a second you should get the thing to allow your microphone and so on, and we can speak. So just while we're waiting for Dave to come online here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, for those of you who are very new to the intention-based energy process, I'm just going to go back to the slide with those core intention statements on it. Oh, there he is, on the computer. Oh my gosh.
Steve, can you hear me?
Okay, the problem is that we don't have good sound. So we can see you, but we don't have good sound. So we need to get that microphone working better.
Okay, I'm plugged in, Steve.
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but I'm hearing you distant.
Ah, yeah, oh, well, maybe it's coming through.
So what it means is it's probably coming through the speaker in your camera rather than through the speaker that you have.
I think you're right, and I'm not sure what to do about that.
So left-hand side underneath the video image, you can try and change the microphone. You might have two options there.
Where, Steve?
Just under the video.
Under the video.
You should have a little audio and a little video that you can choose which one to use. I don't know what else we're going to do, because just let me know, everyone else, how you're hearing Dave, because I'm not hearing him very clearly at all.
No better? No better,
very, very faint. No, am I? Very soft, cannot hear David. Yeah. So this is a very, very low volume. Yeah. Okay, so like a whisper when you speak. And that's because it's not coming through your so try this for me. Just tell you what, I can actually do this. I'm going to go to you, and I might just turn off your video for you. No, it won't let me. Oh my gosh! Oh, the system is not letting me do what it tells me it should do. Oh, here it is. Okay, now if you speak, what's it like now?
I turned it off. Can you hear me?
Oh, you turned it off. Yeah, it's still really, really
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Suggestion? Suggestion is that you, yeah, sometimes you can go out and come back in again, but it can be a bit of a risk. I think it's going to be too soft for everybody. So that's the challenge.
I'll just bow out.
Yeah, and then sometimes you need to restart. Sometimes the system decides to use one thing over another. No, it's not an issue of knowing what to click on. He's clicked on all the right things. What he needs to do is actually to probably restart the computer and tell it to use the correct audio rather than. Eric says a happy medium between Ferris and David would be great. Well, this is about fear of rejection, so this is very typical. Now you're still there for me, Dave, but what I'll do is I'll take your voice back. I'll take voice back, and then I might get you to have another go. Someone said take headphones off. I don't think that will make a real difference because it's his voice going to the camera, and we're not really getting much of that. It's not a very good quality microphone in the camera. All right. So meantime, while we're waiting, anybody else who wants to volunteer can put your hand up. I still have you here, Teresa, but for some reason we still need you to. Ruth says, David, are you tapping about not being heard? I'm sure he is. And you can do, I release all my emotional attachments to not being heard, or whatever comes up. This may or may not be a projection, so Dave might let us know whether it's actually what he's experiencing or not. Um, Teresa says, not sure what's happening, but the last session was very good. Thank you. No worries. Do you want to just let us know, Teresa? You can let us know via the chat if you want to. The other thing is, Dave, you can have another go, and we can see if you can come through this time. Sometimes what happens is that you go out, you come back in, or you restart or whatever, and sometimes you can get some power from that. These are the challenges with technology, I'm afraid. This is also when I do group programs, when I do my coaching, I actually much prefer to use a program called Zoom, where we don't have to have this awkward waiting for permission and so on. Everybody gets to see everybody, and it's really clear and so on. So David could type his issue in a nutshell. Yeah. Ferris says, how interesting, I was too loud and he was too quiet. Hopefully it can be just right next time. Yeah. You can also say, I release all my emotional attachments to being too quiet, or I release all my emotional attachments to being too whatever. Whatever it is that you have in your mind, or whatever occurs to you, or whatever you berate yourself with, or whatever you upset yourself with, or whatever is upsetting you, you can say, I release all my emotional attachments to this thought, and wherever you feel it in your body, you can say, I restore the right energy flow to this body area. And it can be absolutely surprising for people just what's possible with this simple couple of emotional attachments. Eric says, I release all my emotional attachments to hearing everyone at a perfect volume. Yeah, I'm just pleased that you can all still hear me, because this morning when I was on the webinar, it was my internet that was a problem, and it went scratchy for a while. And one stage I went offline for about 30 seconds. Eve says, I don't want to put my hand up, but before you finish, can you let me know if you gave some sort of answer to my question that you read out at the beginning, as I couldn't hear it? Well, the problem I have, Eve, is that is remembering something that happened 2 minutes ago even. So let me just, can you maybe type that in for me again? Definitely, well, first you said, could I put the video on? Just remind me what that question was, and then I'll try and answer it. Anyone else who has a question, please type it in. We still have about 15 minutes, and I really like to address some of this stuff to specific stuff. Now, what I might actually do is move on a little bit. I have a little bit more stuff to present about this and give you some stuff to go away with. Would love, though, to have an opportunity to do a little bit more coaching, just to show you how you can use the intention-based energy process combined with the tapping to release emotional attachments and restore energy back to flow. So if anybody else wants to jump in and raise their hand and so on, I'm happy to let you online. Otherwise, just type something in the chat and we will see. Okay, so let me just take you back to a slide that I brought up earlier, which was about how we're going to address and how we're going to treat rejection fear. So there were three things that we're looking at. One is past rejections, humiliations, and hurts. Second thing is the rejection messages and the belief systems and beliefs, negative beliefs that we took from those situations. And then there's the future fantasies and projections that come up of rejection when we think about taking ourselves forward. Okay, so here we go. Dave's coming through. Let's let that come through, Dave. And first of all, I'm just going to finish this off now and just give this to people, and then hopefully you'll come online and speak, and it'll be nice and clear, because your internet systems will be doing what they should be doing. So just for everyone, this is really homework. If you can identify experiences, here's the places to look. Number one, school experiences, experiences with teachers. These are some of the key ones where we learn, actually learn to fear rejection. We have a lot of rejection experiences. Those rejection experiences may be from the teachers, who sometimes can be quite cruel, and sometimes it's not necessarily them, it can be coming from the other kids. I certainly have had an experience where reading something out in front of the class and stumbling over the words and then having the entire class laugh at me. And I'm sure that the people who are online here have had similar experiences. public performances of any kind, whether that be in front of the classroom or where you had to do something in front of a group. And those are prime situations. This is why public speaking anxiety is one of the top fears in the world for people, because that is an opportunity for rejection en masse and real significant social pain. Then look at your early friendship experiences, and some of those can really be highly significant in terms of influencing our future beliefs about ourselves, particularly the stuff that happens in the teen years where we have the heightened experience of going through hormonal and emotional changes and physical changes and so on, and we're establishing our identity in the world. And the stuff that happens there can have a big impact on you. So going back and releasing some of the emotional pain and the social pain from those rejection experiences during that time can really free up a lot of energy for you to be able to move forward right now. Then there's love relationships. And as I mentioned, this is some of the most tough stuff. If you've had previous relationships that have ended and not ended well, all of us have actually. Coming from our early experiences of dating through to our attempted longer term relationships and so on the way in my case to I've had a very happy marriage for coming up on 30 years, but I certainly had some experiences in the days of dating that were major rejection or massive rejection, as we would call it. Then there's the rejection that comes from to little kids and in some families where they have a rejection from a parent. And I want to say something particular about this, because if you have suffered maternal rejection or paternal rejection in a big way, that's some of the toughest stuff for anybody to deal with. And I'm going to suggest that this is not something that can necessarily be dealt with on your own. It's something that requires, in many cases, the depth of the hurt and pain of that requires working with other people to really be able to get to and to really be able to get beyond, because it's a relational issue and it's a relational work that needs to be done. And I think it's a great thing to do with other people, because we need other people. And so you really need to bring the positive relationship of a good coach, good therapist, good counselor in to help you deal with that kind of stuff. All right. Oh, now, Dave, I just accidentally lost you again. So can you just try one more time? Here he comes. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Dave, I'm tapping for you. Hello?
Can't hear me.
It's faint. It's way, way faint.
Sorry, Steve. Got nothing. That's my best. I went off, came back on. Got nothing. Can't hear me?
Mate, I don't think it's going to... Sometimes I say I release all my emotional attachments to the technology. And man, how much of our lives do we suffer challenges with technology these days? But of course, when you're dealing with rejection issues, there can be a tendency to personalize that. So I certainly hope you're not doing that. Maybe you can just type in the chat for us, Dave, because I'm sure people would love to know what you're experiencing about this. But it just seems it's not going to work this time to speak. So let's go to just putting some stuff in the chat and see what you can let us know about that. JD says, releasing my attachment to knowing what Dave was going to say. Yeah, okay. He said about everyone not liking me. You're talking about, you mean this, the one that you wrote, rather than what you wrote in the chat. Yeah. So if I can go to your email, I would like to find a way of becoming immune to the disappointments I have had with various women who have ended my life and which I may still encounter before my time is up. Okay, so first of all, if you're using the YEP process and combined with tapping, I would first of all say I release all my emotional attachments to the fantasy that everybody should like me. Now, I know you've done some tapping on that process, but I'm going to be curious what happens if you bring the intention process into that and then just follow where that goes. So first of all, it's kind of a fantasy belief that everybody should like you. And it can be like a demand um, about them. And of course, as you know, that's their business, not not your business. But of course, when we want other people to like us, we make their business our business. And then, as Byron Katie would say, we're out of our business. So she says, "What you think of me is none of my business." I don't know whether she said that, but she says something like that. So in this case, just start with, I release all my emotional attachments to um, appealing to everybody. I release all my emotional attachments to the belief that everybody should like me. I release all my emotional attachments to the fantasy that everybody loves me and accepts me, and see what happens next. Then notice what happens in your body, notice what happens in your thoughts, and then just apply the process to the thoughts and feelings that come next with that. I'm so sorry we can't actually work through that, but give it a go right now. And if you have a chance in the next minute or so, let me know. Teresa's saying, in front of the class in grade 6, I put a comma backwards. The teacher hit me on the head with his cigarettes in hand and said, "Is that the way the Dutch do it?" And I imagine there was a particular tone of voice in that, and a particular volume of that, and maybe even a particular way of steering with that. Whatever that is, you can you can release your emotional attachments to the thing that about that affects you, or you can just simply say, "I release all my emotional attachments to his words, or to this experience of being hit on the head," or whatever it is that that actually occurs to you. So this, let me just try and follow this here because it's a little bit challenging to read this small. And of course, Laurent says, "Releasing my attachment to not working on this topic." Of course, because the belief is that you're going to experience pain because it's real physical pain. So so you can say, "I release all my emotional attachments to this humiliation," if that's the thing that comes to mind, because humiliation, whilst it's actually you feel it in your body, humiliation is the label that you give to it, and that's associated with it. So you can say, "Release all my emotional attachments to this humiliation," and then keep tapping and notice what that does. And you might find that there's a certain part of it that comes up, or it links into another aspect or to another experience, and then you just follow wherever it goes. So where are we? Eve says, "Thank you very much. I shall follow your advice." Please do. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I wish we could actually, in a way, I wish we could all get together on Zoom and do the coaching part of this on that, because it's such a great platform for doing the coaching where everybody can see everybody. Of course, not everybody wants to see everybody. That's why I start out with these free programs with webinars like this. Teresa says, "That's very cool, releasing the attachment to a feeling or belief, etc. Very cool." Okay, so is that what you're feeling right now? Is that what you're experiencing? Just let us know what's happening for you. It's a little harder doing coaching by chat, but hey, we'll do what we can. So she says, "Yep, yep, I like that word." Okay, so far so good. Yeah, thank you. It's a great feeling. Very good. Yeah, Jadu, definitely we can do the Zoom thing when I, as I offer a couple of programs, group coaching programs via Zoom, and I'll certainly be putting those out there. And you people who've signed up for this will be first on the list to be advised about that. Teresa says there's no extra psychology needed. I'm not necessarily saying that there's no extra psychology needed. Just you can apply this to these situations and experiences and see what happens. And many, many times you can be quite capable of releasing a lot of emotional attachments simply using intention combined with tapping. And it can be very powerful. If you're dealing with big T trauma, as in the life-threatening experience of trauma, I highly recommend working with a therapist and that kind of stuff. But this little P trauma, and even though it's not little to you in terms of how it affected you, man, you can get a lot of relief just using these simple techniques like that. So you say, but it feels like that. Tell me more what you mean by that. And unfortunately, we're gonna run out of time. But let's just see if we can just get an answer to that one. And then what I'm going to have to do is change this back to listen mode. That way I can go back to the slides for you. Okay, it released very quickly and I didn't need any more information as such. Yeah, that's the great thing. That's the surprising thing that a lot of people have. And what I've found is that using this intention process, I'm able to work through aspects of experiences and aspects of problems much more quickly. And that's been the case for my clients and for workshop participants and people in the coaching program that I'm running. It's absolutely surprising. But what I would do is, if I were you, I would go back through that experience and try and find any parts of it that still trigger you and apply the process to that. And then anything else that might be connected to it and apply the process to that. And anything that you might be thinking about it that might upset you and apply the process to that. And scan through the body when you're remembering it and notice what happens in your body. And if there's any tension or any congestion or any tightness, then try the restoring energy flow statement and see what that does. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, as you have been already, obviously. All right, so we're going to run out of time, and where do we go from here? I think the starting point, the opposite of rejection, is called acceptance. And the starting point for acceptance is what I call self-acceptance, and I'm not the first person to talk about that. There's some very big heavy hitters and wonderful people in the world who have passed this way before us, who have looked at this issue and seen how significant it is. One of them is Carl Jung. He says the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. We can't change anything until we accept it. And instead of accepting ourselves, one of the challenges with rejection is that when we get rejected by our teachers and our peers and our parents and our siblings and whatever, then we internalize that and we reject ourselves. We internalize that rejection process as a way of actually keeping ourselves safe. In other words, we'll give ourselves a little bit of that pain to stop ourselves from doing something that might end up with more of that pain. And that can get, in its extreme, into self-condemnation, even self-disgust and self-hatred. And I know about that because I've been there. And the work that I've done on self-acceptance, together with the work that I've done on values, which a lot of you know from 100% Yes, is some of the most powerful work that I've done with tapping and some of the most powerful self-development work that I've done. Carl Rogers is another big Carl, another big heavy hitter. And he says the curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. This is what we need. Enough people who truly believe and experience and know that what you are is good enough if only you would be that openly. And oh my gosh, how would the world be if we could bring ourselves out as we really are rather than having to put on all these faces and facades to perform and to hold up masks instead of being who we really are. One of the great things with working with thousands of people over the years is you get to see people at all levels, and behind the facade, we're all the same. We really are. I want to give you some things to follow up on, and I want to make you an offer, of course. The only way I can run free programs is doing some programs that people pay for, but because you're here, I want to make you a special offer on a couple of them. One of them is my 30-day self-acceptance program. Some of you know about this, some of you have done this already. It's a program which has got a lot of positive feedback from people over the time that I've been running it. It's a 30-day process where I send you something in your inbox every day for 30 days. It's not just fluff, it's stuff that you can use, strategies, techniques, ways of using tapping to help you to get more self-acceptance. And there's also 8 audio recordings. One is a 4-part audio series that I did with Jessica Ortner. She interviewed me and we called it Finding the Gifts in Your Shadow. And then there was a telepart series that I ran, and there are recordings from 4 of those. The value is $235. The retail price is $99, and in the next 4 minutes, our operators are standing by. You can get it for half off. And the way that you do that is you go to, first of all, the Self-Acceptance 30-Day Program is on our training page at EFTdownunder.com. And if you click through, then you'll get taken to the page which tells you all the components in a bit more detail than I'm able to do here. And for the next 7 days, if you then go through and follow all the way through to checkout, because you want to get hold of that program and put the code in, accept me now. Make sure that you click on the thing to apply the code, and then you'll get that program for 50% off for the next 7 days for people who have done this webinar. The other thing is my 100% yes-based Go For It program, based on my new book. If you haven't got my new book, go get it. So on Amazon, you can buy hard copy from us as well. And that's a program to help you align your vision, values, beliefs, goals, and actions, and essentially to be able to get the BS and the blocks and the resistance, one major type of which is this fear of rejection, out of your way so that you can go forward 100% yes without holding back. And so all the parts of you are in harmony. This program is an online program. It's a video-based program. There are 26 videos. These are short videos. Most of them are 3 to 5 to 7 minutes. And they're organized into 8 modules, taking you through, if you've read my book, the main process for identifying what success is to you, being able to release your attachment to the BS belief systems and blocking beliefs that are in your way, aligning your values and getting clear on your goals and being able to go for it. There's also recordings from 5 90-minute coaching calls that I gave. So there's a total of 7.5 hours of video coaching calls that you can tap along to, and where I review the content and answer people's questions and so on. So there's 51 support videos in all in that program. And you, along with people who've bought my book, and I highly recommend if you haven't got the book that you get that, because that takes you through this process. You can go again through the training page on EFTdownunder.com, click through on that, you'll be taken to the detail page, and then if you go through to checkout, put the coupon code Go For It Now, and instead of paying $197, the program is $97 for the next 7 days. And I'm going to be offering a live coaching option on that and commence early 2017. I have a current Go For It coaching group who are going great guns. And there's a couple of people from that group online here. There was a couple of people on this morning. They're really making some fantastic changes. We also set up a private Facebook group where I communicate with everybody, and everybody supports each other. And the results have been absolutely fantastic for the people that are part of that program. So I'll be putting out something about that. I want to offer that first to the people who are already in that program, and then I'll be opening up places if there are places available for other people to do the group, which starts in 2017, probably end of January. And meantime, the Go For It video-based program and the self-acceptance program, they're really great programs, and I hope that you will have a look at them. Thank you, thank you, thank you, particularly for the people who are here live right now. I really appreciate that. I know it's an effort to be able to make time in your calendar to be able to come on live, to do a program like this. I hope that you've picked up some things that you can use. You know, my wife was actually on the program this morning, and she said that she picked up a whole bunch of stuff, and she was able to apply tapping and overcome another one of the things that have been blocking her because of fear of rejection from putting her art out there into the world. This is my great wish, is that you'll take this information and use it and apply it, and be able to bring more of who you are and what you have to offer to the rest of us out into the world. So until I see you again, thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate all those positive comments from people who are writing. Thanks, Ferris. Yes, yeah, it is a great program. It's a great program with great people to go for a program. So look out for it when I offer it. Look forward to seeing you all again. Some of you, I'm going to see you when I come up to Europe next year. So look forward to that. Some of you who are over east, I'm contemplating coming over there to do a couple of workshops next year. I'll see you then. Otherwise, I'll see you online in the program there. So ciao for now. Hey.